no single golden tactic that you will employ and suddenly you will get delivered, you will be placed in inbox. It's a combination of a lot of factors. Most importantly, it's the strategy that you choose and the practices that you deploy in your day-to-day. A few features that can help you watch your sending practices or make sure that you don't make a mistake when selecting the audience are set on a project level. So they are found in project settings. And then the main point is emails as part of channels menu. In emails, you can define a few things that, again, apply to all emails in your project, any scenario that you launch. The only exceptions for these are transactional emails. If you are using our separate transactional email API, it's not going to be considered in most of these features. And also, if you are sending a campaign which uses a general consent as a consent category. So this would be, for example, if you need to send a service update or a notice to customers about restoring your services, for example, or something similar. In those cases, we wouldn't suppress emails because they are on a suppression list or because they don't fulfill the best practices for email list hygiene. So the 3 or 4 most important things are the first one being email suppression lists. We have a list of typos that are most common. These are automatically excluded from your sending. What you can do is you can also set up a custom suppression list. So this allows you to add any emails or domains into the list, excluding any typos which are very common in your local market, for example, and are not covered by the global suppression list yet. So if you see a lot of typos, a lot of soft bounces, hard bounces coming from a specific domain, and if you know that there is definitely a typo, then feel free to add them to suppression list to limit that exposure. Some providers actually watch those typoed domains, and they also calculate your reputation on that. So they can sometimes see that you are sending to a typo domain. The next one is email list hygiene filter. By default, it's disabled. You can enable it. And what this does, it allows you to set rules on engagement, for example, or on excluding people who very recently soft bounced from sending. So the default filter, which you will see, is quite complicated, but all it does, it excludes customers who didn't engage in 180 days by default. You can edit it. You can completely get rid of all the conditions that are here, and you can start from scratch using your own filters, your own criteria based on the frequency of sending that you employ. If for some reason you will need to send a campaign, maybe it's Black Friday, you need to send a campaign also to less engaged customers, you can temporarily disable the email list hygiene filter and then re-enable it later. So you are still able to send something if needed, but don't forget to turn off the list hygiene filter in project settings. The next feature that I want to talk about is automatic bot detection. You can enable it, and what this does is it collects extra data if an email link was clicked by a bot. What we do is we add an invisible link to the body of the email, and if a robot is going through all the links in the email, in the source code, they will find this link, they will click it, and we can see the hit or the session coming to that specific URL. We will mark this in reporting as clicked_honeypot, as it's a different status than clicked, and you can use this to, for example, exclude the data from reporting or identify how many of your clicks are real and how many of them are actually coming from bots. And the last thing I want to mention is frequency policy, which is found in privacy management, not in channels, because frequency policy applies to all the different channels, not just email that we were looking at before. And what frequency policy allows you to define is the segments that Gavin was talking about with email list health. You can define and group customers into these segments. Again, you can change them, you can rename them, you can change the criteria, but some good practice is already set up here. Once you segment the customers, or you might use the default segmentation that we provide, you can then define different limits or different number of emails sent per different time periods. So for example, to your most active customers with high open rates, the maximum might be 10 emails per 1 week, but at the same time, we only want to send 2 emails per day and 1 email per hour. Comparing this with, for example, lapsed and inactive customers where we have just 0 by default, or lapsed customers who have some web activity with 1 email per 1 month. So this allows you to automatically manage your frequency. You don't need to remember to apply some specific segmentation criteria in the scenario. You only need to select this policy in the specific email campaign. You don't need to apply the policy to all your campaigns. For example, your abandoned cart might completely ignore this policy. It won't be counted towards the limit, and you will make sure that you send those very important emails to your customers.